Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. There's a proposal that would allow the reversal of certain XRP Ledger transactions, and that proposal is live right now. That means that validators can vote on this particular proposal. Now, to be clear here, right at the outset of the video, the amendment, which is separate from the proposal, the amendment is not live. If the proposal is passed, meaning that over 80% of validators approve of it, then the amendment would go live. But right now, just the proposal is live. And as it turns out, there's a lot of people in our community that are having this gut reaction of, I don't like this. This is bad. And I didn't have the same reaction, and I want to share with you why. And if I'm missing something, let me know. At this point, I think I've read enough perspective from enough people that I can just say this. I'm still open to being persuaded, as always, especially since this is something that only recently I began considering and thinking about. At this point, I feel pretty darn persuaded that this is actually a net plus for the XRP Ledger, even if it may not sound like it to some of you on the server. So let me explain what I mean. If you think I'm missing anything or if I'm completely bat S-word crazy, articulate why in the comment section below. And if I'm wrong, I can be persuaded if you've got a strong argument for sure, you know. It's not that I want this to be good or bad. I just want to know what it is and then just have an opinion based on that. So I can certainly be persuaded, but I think this is, at this point in time, it's most probable anyway, that this is a net plus. I also have perspective from David Schwartz on this. But before going further, I do need to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so here you have Ripple's Ripple X account. This is the official Ripple X account, and they posted the following. I'm not going to read the whole thread, but I'll read the first part here. Clawback is a newly proposed feature that adds to the XRP Ledger's token asset control capabilities. It is part of the latest Rippled 1.12.0 release and eligible for voting by the validator community. If adopted, the XLS39 clawback feature will enable developers to provide enhanced trust and safety to their issued assets. Validators should review the documentation to understand its functionality and lightweight impact to the XRP Ledger. And so this will allow a clawback, which is just what it sounds like. You're talking about an actual reversal of transactions. But since there was such concern from many within the XRP community, and I didn't see a lot of explanation in many cases anyway as to why, I surmise that people jumped to the conclusion after reading this that this would apply perhaps to XRP itself. I don't know if that's for sure what everybody's thinking. This does not apply to XRP itself. XRP is the native asset of the XRP Ledger, and when you're talking about this proposal, XLS39, the clawback feature, if this is approved, then it would only apply to tokenized assets, so assets that are issued on the XRP Ledger by whatever centralized entity, whoever it is that's launched the darn thing. And even then, as you'll see, it only applies to those that choose to have the clawback feature enabled from the beginning. And so if it's not enabled from the beginning, you literally can't claw anything back. It's literally not allowed. So once I knew that, it's just a new, so because I understand nothing else changes. It's a new feature that's optional, and you can't just choose to not use the feature and then enable it later. That's my understanding anyway. So understanding that's just a new option, I don't understand what the outcry is, and I still don't. And so I posted the following just this afternoon. I wrote, why are so many people saying this is bad? It doesn't apply to XRP. I'm certainly open to the concept that this is a bad idea, but I need someone to articulate a persuasive argument against this proposed amendment. I haven't seen that yet. Reply if you have insight, please. And again, just to be clear, and I still mean that. If somebody has a really persuasive argument, maybe there's something I've not yet considered, let me know. But, you know, I read what David Schwartz, and I'll share this in a second, I read what David Schwartz had to say about this just this afternoon. And, you know, he came up with like a technical potential negative. But, you know, I think, again, what most people are probably thinking is clawback, this is bad. It's not, though. Did you guys know that you can already freeze assets on the XRP Ledger? It doesn't apply to XRP. You can't freeze XRP. That's literally impossible. But did you know that that's already a function that exists on the XRP ledger? And so this is in the same vein as that. And I think that functionality should be there for people that issue centralized assets. I mean, because you could imagine, like, for instance, many of you may be aware of this, but dating back to, it may have been like 2015 or so, there was a firm that was, I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they were actually tokenizing gold on the XRP ledger. And so, you can even think, like, in practical terms, what if you, because mind you, you're a centralized entity, and then you just have a representation of gold on the XRP ledger. Well, what if a private key for the gold is lost? I mean, the physical gold still exists, but the key's lost. That you can see how right there potentially that could be a problem. That's a real world potential example, right? Well, if you have a clawback feature, it's no longer a problem. And so, yes, you're trusting a central authority, but there should be central authorities that choose to operate on the XRP ledger, and they do, and that's fine. It doesn't change anything about XRP. The XRP ledger is decentralized. XRP itself clearly decentralized. There's nobody has special permissions over XRP or the XRP ledger. So none of that changes. I'm just seeing additional functionality here should this thing get passed. Here's what Santiago Velez had to say here, a co-founder and R&D division lead at Block Digital. And he wrote, remember, and he wrote this to me. He said, remember, no other asset issued on the XRP ledger except for XRP is native, and therefore all already have the counterparty risk of an issuer for redemptions. This codifies that reality and allows RWA to be issued in customary fashion, relying on legal structures for final settlement. Yeah, there you go. So I'm that's in line with what I was initially thinking anyway, but he just further confirmed that, and really David Schwartz did too. And actually, by the way, first let me show you this. This is XRPL.org. And I think, where's the part? Yeah, here we go. Here's the part having to do with the clawback for those that care to look. This is the amendment, clawback. This is from XRPL.org. Clawback adds a setting, allow clawback, which lets an issuer recover or claw back tokens that they previously issued. Issuers cannot enable this setting if they have issued tokens already. So there you go. That's literally how it works. So it's just additional functionality. Why would we not want developers and token issuers to choose to have that functionality? Why would we not want that available? I don't see a strong argument for it. Now, David Schwartz, he was just thinking through things analytically, and he technically came up with something. So let me share with you his thoughts now. So directly from David Schwartz here, he said, the clawback amendment is now eligible for voting. This allows issuers of new assets specifically created with this feature enabled to claw back a specified quantity of the asset from a holder. Some thoughts. My initial reaction was that this was redundant. There's really nothing you can do with clawback that you can't do with the freeze feature that issued assets already have. But there is an important difference. The primary use case would be assets that represent actual legal obligations. A stablecoin that can be redeemed by its issuer for cash, for example. And a legal obligation can cease to exist for external reasons, due to a court order, for example. You must have some way to represent this on the ledger, otherwise you simply can't have assets that represent legal obligations on your ledger, and that would be a huge loss. The problem with freeze is that a frozen asset may or may not be a legal obligation of the issuer. It may be frozen because the rightful owner is in dispute, and in that case, it's still a legal obligation of the issuer. But it also may be frozen because a court ordered it to be paid out some other way, and once that payment is made, it's no longer a legal obligation. The problem with only having freeze is that it's not possible for the issuer to ensure the ledger accurately reflects its legal obligations. This weakens accountability and makes audits more complex. That is the primary reason I support this feature. One more detail. While it's true that you can't really do anything with clawback that you can't do with freeze, in fairness, it's worth analyzing one legitimate objection people could have to this feature. And folks, just to be clear, this is the only negative that I've seen cited by anyone. And it's fair, but I'm just noting There's a lot of people that are saying this is bad, it's negative, we don't want this, and I haven't seen an articulation of why it's bad other than this. And this is not that big of a deal, even, I would say. But here's what David Schwartz said. Freeze is all or nothing. Clawback is more surgical. If you think issuers will always use clawback to replace cases where they would otherwise have used freeze, it's hard to object to this change. It allows the issuer to be less intrusive. However, an argument can be made that having a surgical tool that minimizes collateral damage makes that tool more likely to be used. To use an analogy, if Russia only had nuclear weapons, they probably wouldn't invade Ukraine. Yeah, it would be much worse if they did, but they likely wouldn't because of it. Freeze is the nuclear option. Clawback enables surgical strikes. Of course, issuers must make the choice to enable clawback before they issue. If you don't want to hold assets that can be clawed back or frozen, then don't. And, of course, XRP has no issuer, and so can never be clawed back or frozen. And then he states here, one last thought. Other blockchains that have stablecoins on them have some version of this clawback feature. So even if it's not strictly necessary, not having it means everyone who wants to interact with stablecoins on XRP Ledger has to develop different processes and procedures to do so. This is especially a problem for auditors and other types of institutions that can't just make up new processes and adopt them without high friction. So there you go. That's what David Schwartz had to say. Now, again, if there's something that I'm missing or even David Schwartz hasn't considered and you have a good argument as to why this is bad, let me know. I'm just saying there, like I said a few times already, but there are a lot of people not happy with this. And I'm just wondering if they're not happy with it because they had this gut reaction because of what it sounds like when you say clawback and reversal of transactions. I'm wondering if they just had this instinctual reaction where like, oh, that sounds bad, before they learned what it actually means and what the implications are. Because once you learn about it, at least from what I've seen, it seems like a net plus. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.